Hey, it's been a while since I posted a video, but I'm back. Today I want to talk to you about social conditioning. More specifically, about undoing decades of social conditioning that you receive. I've had a lot of life-changing experiences in the past year while I haven't posted. One of which is in the last 7 to 8 months, I was actually going to modeling school on a weekly basis. And that was honestly a really life-changing experience for me because I learned something about myself that I never even considered before. And that is that I actually thought for the last 30 years that I am ugly, like physically ugly. And if I dress myself in makeup and hair and beautiful clothes that are tailored to my body, then I would be bumped from like ugly to being average looking at best if I do all of these things, right? And I'm not saying this to fish for compliments. I'm saying this because like this is my genuine experience, and I'm starting to see how I've been lied to since I was very young. And I'm starting to see how a lot of the things that I really believed about myself haven't even been true. And it's almost like the best I can say it is like over the years, the things that I believed about myself, I actually believed about myself. I've been like slowly peeling back the layers of the onion. And I discovered that a lot of the things that people have told me in the past weren't true at all. And this time, this year, this identity crisis that I actually ended up having this year, which I didn't expect, was confronting the fact that I thought I was ugly. I never even thought I needed to, because all over my career, I've always thought like, okay, let's move on to the next thing. Let's think about how I can be more competent, more capable. Like, let's develop my skill and my personality, because at the end of the day, character is what matters. But I don't even know where to begin. Like, I've never really touched on the aspect of physical beauty of myself, right? So this is what the last year has been like for me. I've been working on this. So when I was 11 years old, I remember both of my aunts told me that my lips were big and they're ugly, and that my sister, who has smaller lips, thin lips with a nice Cupid bow, has far more beautiful lips than me. And me being 11 years old, I thought, oh my gosh, my lips are ugly, And there's nothing I can do about my lips. It's not like I can make them smaller. I was born with my lips like this, right? And so actually after that day, after they made that comment to me, I actually went the rest of my life up until this year thinking, oh my gosh, my lips are really ugly. I hope people don't notice how ugly my lips are. To be fair also as well, like because I watch a lot of finance and career videos on YouTube, the algorithm also never pushed beauty videos on me. So I actually never knew that women were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, not hundreds. No, what am I saying? Hundreds of dollars to fill their lips on a regular basis because they didn't like their thin lips. That's a shocker to me, because this whole time I wished I had thinner lips, only for me to discover like a whole bunch of women pay to have bigger lips when I have it naturally. That was an awakening for me there. And then when I was 12 years old, I had this like crush on a boy in 6th grade for an entire year. And then when he found out that I had a crush on him, he took my face, not my face, but he took my MySpace picture. He took my MySpace picture and he put it on his Zanga blog. And he wrote, Annie Yang is the ugliest girl in the entire school. There is no girl uglier than this girl in the whole school. And Lena, my classmate, is so hot and so gorgeous. She's going to grow up to be a model. And Annie will never be Lena. Now, I was really hurt by what this boy wrote about me, especially because I had a big crush on him. And so I took this to the school administration because I wasn't sure if this was considered bullying. This was in the year 2007. And I told the school about it. and they made him take the page down, and then they made him say sorry to me. But like, they never really addressed with me mentally about what happened, right? They just said, Annie, this is what like boys do when they actually like you back. They don't know how to express it, and you know, he's just a boy or something like that. Like, he secretly likes you or something like that. I don't think he did. I think he was just really immature. But like, yeah, that was like a form of cyberbullying. And the school said to me that this was actually their first incident of cyberbullying. Like, before this, it was never heard of before. Well, today we know cyberbullying is like rampant, but back in 2007, this was the first case they've ever heard of. So actually, after that day in particular, I walked around like for the rest of my life thinking, there you go, I'm like extremely ugly because this boy I really liked told me that I'm really ugly. And then I just remember like middle school was such a difficult time because I had so much acne on my face. I have severe acne. I've had acne since I was 11. You can still see I have acne today. I literally like broke out a new pimple now. And it's always been a struggle for me. But it was even worse when I was a teen. And I remember the week of my middle school graduation photo shoot, right? I had the worst acne breakout. It was like one of the worst in my entire life, actually. And then there was this giant cyst, like the cystic acne on my nose here that had just popped a few days earlier. And because it was so big, like when I say giant, I mean like really big. The size of the scab that ended up forming was actually like, I would describe as the size of my fingernail. And yeah, there was a scab on my face here. And then I also had braces, and I had to get my wisdom teeth removed 3 days before my photo was taken. Yep. So, you know, removed all 4 of my wisdom teeth. And my cheeks were like so swollen from the oral surgery. So when I took my picture, it made me look like a chipmunk. You get what I mean? And man, when those photos came out, I was really hurt. I thought I looked ugly. And then when the photo was put in the yearbook, because, you know, everyone's graduation photo was in the yearbook, when all the kids in my class got their yearbooks that day, I remember specifically it was like Spanish class. As they were like flipping through the pages, they looked at me and everyone went silent, and they're like snickering to themselves and like whispering to themselves like, ha ha ha, look at this picture. They clearly were laughing at me behind the scenes. And so it was actually after that incident that I decided I never want to take my picture again. Like, I don't like taking pictures of myself because I decided after that day, like, oh my gosh, I'm so ugly. And if someone takes a picture of me, then they have a record of me looking ugly, and I would never want that, right? So that's why actually I feel really comfortable making YouTube videos and talking to the camera, because the focus isn't on how I look. The focus is actually on my content and the things I have to say. And so long as that you understand my message and something in you changes as a result of me talking to you, that's okay with me, all right? It's okay with me to have a video of me on record. But that's why so many people over the years have asked me, what's your Instagram? Can I follow you on Instagram? And I would just always say, I don't have an Instagram. And the honest truth is, like, I don't like taking pictures of myself because I've been made fun of so many times. I'm scared of taking pictures of myself. And I understand it's like my biggest downfall. It's to the point where, look, I want to have a successful career. What is it? I've got this book here, right? The 5-Day Job Search. And I've made the commitment, and I've decided that I'm not going to give up promoting this book and selling the ideas in this book until I've sold 100 million copies of this, until like practically every working adult in America has heard of this book and has said, this has changed my life, right? I'm not going to give up. But at the same time, there's a fear of success. You know why? Because look, if I sell 100 million copies of this, if I have like a show on Netflix, for instance, helping people with their job search in a reality show, you know what that entails? That entails like a whole bunch of people knowing who I am, and they're gonna like walk publicly in the street, and they're gonna see me shopping, walking, eating, just living my life, whatever, and they're gonna come up to me asking for an autograph, and I'd just be like, okay, I'd be so happy to give you an autograph. But then they're gonna ask, can I take a picture with you? And that makes me scared, right? So the joy of like sharing this message is there, but at the same time, so there's this push-pull factor of I can imagine myself right when I get to the cusp of that kind of moment, I would end up self-sabotaging myself just because I don't want to get my picture taken. So like imagine I was giving speeches to like an audience of 100 people. Suddenly I will find myself self-sabotaging because people will, after the event, they're going to want to take a picture of me, and I'm just going to be like, okay. And then I just like take a really awkward photo of myself being like this or something, or like secretly in my head wishing that my hands could cover my face because I don't want to be seen, right? Like that is to the point of like how scarred I've been. But I actually never really thought of that. All of this was just like very deeply unconscious, and I'm just thinking to myself, my gosh, if I never uncovered it this year, I can only imagine the amount of self-sabotage I would do in the future. All right. Yeah. So that is basically what happened to me in my childhood. And yeah, I get that it was so long ago, right? And that was my childhood and my teenage years. And we all go through these like really awkward phases. I'm sorry. Phases in our life. And actually, those are like life-defining moments. Oh my gosh. Just be right back. So there are these like life-defining moments that define us when we're 13 to 18 years old, and then it's like we live a script on autopilot into our adulthood. That just runs over and over again in a circle, and we're just like waiting for something in our life to change, and it never changes because this script just sabotages your life in all sorts of ways, you know? I'm really sorry, because right now not only am I thinking of myself, I'm thinking of my friend who got sabotaged by this. She has this terrible upbringing where in Chinese culture, the philosophy is that if you're not number one, if you didn't make it to number one in whatever, the math test, the number one high school, the number one college, if you're not number one in your class, you're a nobody, and you'll always be a nothing. You'll be worthless. You're a nobody. You're not successful. You're a failure. If you're number two, you're a failure. And my friend has this script running into her head, and she's so amazing. She's a CPA. She earns more money than most people in the United States, and she feels like a failure, and she just ends up self-sabotaging herself. She looks at the women around her who are around her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend now, sabotage her relationship. Why? Because she doesn't think she's good enough, right? She gets jealous of like every woman she comes across, including me. She was jealous of me for so many years. There was nothing I did, but she ran on this social conditioning script that she was raised and taught to grow on. Oh my gosh. And you know what? What's so sad is she wishes she could change,
so hard. She wishes she could change. And she makes the effort to take the action to change. Unlike other people, she doesn't go through life like just letting life happen to her. She takes initiative. She makes plans. She has goals. She carries out her plans. But this one area of her life where she struggles, she can't do it. She can't do it. She just spirals right back into jealousy. She can't help it. She gets triggered and then it just goes right back. It's just so sad. I mean, it's so easy for me to see it in her, right? But I couldn't see it in myself. I understood these events, but then I walked through the rest of my life from 18 years old, well until now, 30 years old, to the last 12 years of my adulthood, not even realizing I've been on autopilot. I've been living in a script, running in circles. And then like every time there is an experience that proves otherwise and is not part of this conditioning, I brush it off. I discount it. So for example, I remember turning 22 years old. I moved to Texas and I see all the girls at Texas Tech University, they're all wearing makeup. And I thought to myself, wow, all these girls are so beautiful with makeup on. I never learned how to do makeup. I've never bought even like any sort of makeup product in my life. Let me go to the store and try on some makeup and buy it for the first time in my life. So I went with my two neighbors from upstairs. They took me to MAC, right? And at the counter, you know, they told the lady at the counter to like put some makeup on me. So she put on some eyeshadow on me and an eyeliner and eyebrow makeup. And the girls said, oh, wow, you look so cute. You should buy this. So I ended up spending like $51 at that store. I came home and then my husband said, wow, you look so pretty with makeup on. And that's a compliment. But do you know what happened because of my conditioning? Of me thinking that I'm ugly? My response to that, and this was actually one of the biggest arguments we had in our relationship. One of the biggest. So you think when I'm not wearing makeup, you think I'm ugly. And you think I'm only pretty when I wear makeup. I literally took his words out of the context and the intention of what he originally had, and I flipped it on him and made him the villain for something nice that he said, because I thought about what he didn't say. So he never said I was pretty before that day. You get what I mean? So before that day when I bought the makeup, he never complimented me for being pretty. Therefore, because he only compliments me now, he must have thought this whole time that I was ugly. And then I went back to the Mac store the next day and I returned everything and I got a refund. You know what I was thinking in my head after that day? Not related, but I was thinking, because of the stereotypes you see, right, in male-female dynamics. Well, the proof that you're beautiful, what would prove to me that I'm beautiful, that other people find me beautiful, is if random men who were strangers would hit on me and ask me out on a date. You know, if I had random men hit on me and ask me out on a date, then I would change my mind and I would start thinking I'm beautiful. What do you know? When I was 24 years old, one day I had to make a run to the post office for my employer. So I start walking to the post office from the office, right? This guy, out of nowhere, he's like running out of breath. He says, excuse me. And then I'm like, what, you know? I turn around, this guy is like out of breath. Apparently he was trying to like chase after me for the last 2 blocks. Maybe I dropped something, I don't know. He says, I think you're beautiful. And I don't want to live with regrets. Can I ask you out on a date? Like, I would live with regret if I didn't ask you out on a date. So I would like to at least have made the attempt. I really think you're pretty. And I want to get to know you more. I thought this was a prank. I looked around and I thought maybe this is like one of those people on what's TikTok nowadays, but you know, Facebook short videos, I don't know back then, right? Maybe someone's like secretly filming me to see my reaction to what this guy was saying. But then when I looked around, like there's no one. It was just me and him. The sidewalk was empty. No one's filming this. So I was like, what the fuck? This guy is so weird. Like, why does he's like so random, you know? I thought maybe if no one's filming this, maybe, you know, like it's one of those challenges where people have these online challenges, like how many times can I get rejected kind of thing, right? So maybe he's just like attempting one of those like challenges for himself, like how many times can I get rejected in one day, like just to get used to the fact that he's gonna get rejected, or I don't know. So I was thinking like this must be like the sickest joke, all right? I told him I was already married. So I turned him down because I'm already like in a committed relationship, and he looked really bummed, but he understood, and then we went our separate ways. But yeah, even when I was confronted with the exact experience that I thought would force me to change my mind, I actually completely brushed it off, and I was like, this is nuts, you know? So it actually doesn't even work. What you think will change your mind, and then when it actually happens, it doesn't work. My gosh, I remember shortly after that experience, I started making YouTube videos. I started making them when I was 24, right? I went to Walgreens, I went to CVS, I bought one of those like the cheap $5 lipsticks, right? Because I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I was extremely frugal. I don't believe in spending like $50 on lipstick, okay? So I bought like maybe 3 lipstick products or lip gloss. And I don't know what looks good on me, which is why I picked like these random colors. And then I wore one of them for a YouTube video. It was about how to save money on your cell phone bill. And then my ex-roommate had commented on that video. He said, your lip gloss be poppin'. And then he put like the emoji with the sunglasses. And then because he was talking about my lips, I was like, oh my gosh, he noticed my lips. And he must notice how ugly they are because I wore the lip gloss. So I never wore lip gloss in my life ever again after that day. Because I was like, if I wear lip gloss, that's gonna draw attention to my lips. And people are gonna notice how ugly they are. And that's not the kind of attention that I want. So because he wrote that as well, and I really struggled to find what color would look nice on my lips, but also not make them look ugly, that's why I started taking private makeup lessons. I went to Katrina Hess on Newbury Street in Boston for 3 private lessons. And I remember I went into her studio, and she didn't even look at me yet. She just said, please go to the bathroom, wash your face, exfoliate your lips, and then come back. So I did that. I washed my face, I scrubbed my lips, and then I sat down on her chair. And then when I sat down, she was like, oh my God, you're beautiful. You're unbelievably gorgeous and beautiful. And then I was like, my God, she's lying. Like she's lying through her teeth. I thought she was lying. And I said to her, I think you're lying. And then she pointed at the poster next to the bathroom of Audrey Hepburn. And she was like, you're beautiful just like Audrey Hepburn. You're just equally as beautiful as her. And then I was like, my God, she really is trying so hard, right? You know what I was thinking?
why I brushed her off and why I discounted her opinion. The reason why I discounted it is because I was paying her $350 to teach me how to do makeup. And because I'm paying her, well, part of her job of like teaching me makeup is to teach me how to be happy with myself, or at least that's what I'm thinking. The reason I say this is because if I'm her client, all right? I'm her client here. And if I walk out after taking 3 lessons with her, feeling like my makeup didn't look good on me, I would end up being an unhappy client writing a 1-star review on Google, right? So of course, part of that is to make me feel like I'm looking pretty as a result of the makeup she's teaching me. Or like, that's the hidden motive that I assigned to her for why she would say something like that to me. And this happened when I was 26. But I never forgot what she said because I was really taken aback by what she said, because one of the reasons why I was taken aback is because she's a professional. You know, she works in this industry, the beauty industry. So I do put a little bit more weight on what she says, okay? That I do that. So while I brushed her off, it actually planted a seed in me that day, because I was like, well, that was a really different experience. Wonder what that was all about. It did plant a seed in me. It just never fully grew into a plant that day. And then the next one that made me think was when I was 28. So I had written the 5-day job search, right? That was 2 years ago. And then I needed to get my headshot done. That's right. I needed to get my headshot done because I wanted to guest interview on hundreds of podcasts, right? And I thought to myself, well, because I really need this photo to come out amazing and to make me look like I'm a celebrity that's worthy of being on someone's show, I need to have that celebrity look. Therefore, I need to go to a celebrity photographer and go to a celebrity makeup artist. And the makeup artist just happens to partner with the photographer. They work together a lot on a lot of projects. So it's great. They know each other. So I go in first for the makeup. And the guy's name is Lewis. He does my hair and makeup for like 2 hours. And then Peter Hurley walks in the room. He's the photographer. Peter walks in through the back door. And suddenly he screams like really loud, like, wow, I had no idea how beautiful you were. My God, you're so stunning and gorgeous. My gosh, I never really know what my clients look like before I actually see them. I don't bother looking up pictures of them online, so I have no idea what they look like before the day of the shoot. And then I'm here thinking like, my God, you know, this guy talks so loud on the phone, right? It's like, I thought he had his ear pods in and that he was like just pacing around the room like having a phone conversation with someone. So he kept talking about like how beautiful that person was. And then finally, like after a few minutes, I was like, hey, I'm sorry, man. Are you talking to me? You know, like I thought, you know, this whole time, I thought you were talking to someone on the phone or something. He was like, yeah, of course I was talking about you. And then I was like, huh? You're talking about me? I don't think I'm pretty. And then he goes, what are you talking about? You're gorgeous. I swear, once I put you in front of the camera, it doesn't matter what I do, most of the pictures are gonna come out looking gorgeous because you yourself, you're already gorgeous. All the other people walking through my door into the studio, they're not that beautiful. My job is to make them look beautiful, but you're already beautiful. And then I was like, my God, he's like really hyping me up here, you know, because you know why? You want to get in front of the camera, you want to look happy, you want to look confident, you want to look successful. So I was like, man, there's a reason why he's a celebrity photographer. You know why? He must be so good at hyping up his clients to make them feel so good about himself that like, of course, the photos come out good because you're going to look happy in front of the camera. So I'm like, wow, this must be one of his like the secret tricks and like tools in his tool bag, you know? The trick up his sleeve. And I was just like, yeah, no, I bet you say that to like every client that walks in through your door, because if you don't say it and they don't feel good about themselves, the photo's gonna come out bad.
He was like, there's no reason for me to lie to you. And I was like, yeah, I think so. Because I'm about to pay you like $4,000. And yeah, you really want your clients to be happy. You need like good reviews. You need recurring revenue. You know, I don't know. You need good reputation. So, you know, I was paying him a lot of money. So then I turned to Lewis, the makeup artist. I'm like, you work with him all the time. You know, is he lying? Like, he must be doing this to everyone. Tell me. Like, he must be like hyping people up like this before he shoots them, right? And then Lewis shakes his head. He was like, no, Annie. You are beautiful. I'm doing this makeup for your photo shoot because we need to do makeup for photo shoot. But I'll be very honest, like for everyday kind of look, you only need mascara and lipstick. Maybe curl your lashes too, right? So curl your lashes, mascara, lipstick, and you're good to go out the door. You look gorgeous. And then I was like, I don't know what he's talking about, you know? I didn't really believe those two that day, but it was, I would say, I don't know. I've never stopped thinking about that experience. How about that? I would say like that. I never stopped thinking about it. And then it was only after I started going to modeling school the last 7 to 8 months. And the whole reason why I even went to modeling school is because I want to give speeches. And then I had this fear that if I walk into a room and I walk in heels, I don't look ladylike. And if I don't have like this like elegant power walk with authority, and because I look so young, and people think I'm young, they're not going to think that I know what I'm talking about. They're not going to think I have the expertise. And therefore, if I don't learn this walk, all will be for nothing. People won't listen to me. And therefore, I have to go to modeling school and learn this walk, okay? So I go to modeling school to learn how to walk. And then the teacher, who has been a runway model herself for several years in New York City, says, "You're so beautiful." And then I was like, oh my gosh, there we go again. The third professional that I pay to just tell me I'm beautiful, to hype me up, to make me feel good about myself, right? There you go. Another one. But this time, because like, you know, with the makeup artist, I only saw her 3 times. The photographer, I only saw him 1 time. And then that makeup artist as well, only 1 time. This coach, I've been with her for months, okay? So every week, as I'm walking, practicing my walk and everything, she tells me how beautiful I am. So it's like this continuous reinforcement. You're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And so then one day we didn't have a walking class. One day we had a class about design, how to pick clothes that look good on you, right? And I told her that I've already had a coach before on fashion. I took fashion lessons before, right? So I already do have a very good idea what looks good on me, but I'm open to learning more. I want to learn more and maybe see if there's any gap in my knowledge about finding out what looks good on me. I'm always open to learning more expert tips, okay? So we can have today's lesson about the clothes. So she sits me down for this lesson about clothing and fashion. And then the very first thing she talks about in the lesson is she's talking about body shape. Are you hourglass, ruler, you know, apple, pear, you know, that stuff. And then she asked me, which one do you think you are? And then I was like, I genuinely don't know. I mean, based on my measurements, 32, 27, 34, because I'm slightly bigger in the hips than my chest area. Maybe I'm a pear, but at the same time, I look in the mirror and I'm like, I literally feel like I'm a rectangle, you know, practically no shape, no boobs, nothing, just flat. And then she goes to me, actually, you're none of these. You're a walking, what she called me was a walking clothes hanger. She said, you have a rear body shape where whatever you wear will end up looking good on you. It's like you're a real life clothes hanger, basically. And then I have never heard of that before. I was like, that's a thing? Apparently, yes. I wear clothes and then they just hang very nicely on me. yeah, after that day, I started to consider, maybe a lot of the things that I've been taught and socially conditioned to believe, maybe they're actually not true. Maybe. I don't fully see my own beauty yet, I'll be very honest. I see glimpses of it. I would look in the mirror and I think, wow, I look really beautiful today. But then there are other days I look in the mirror and I'm like, I look really ugly today. So it's not fully solidified. So what I would say is I'm at the point where I've had the awakening, right? I've had the flashes of the insight, partially because I surrounded myself with people who are not in my, what would you say, normal circle, right? You only change your mindset and your worldview when you meet new people who have a different way of thinking things. And the whole reason why I was believing I was ugly was because of my upbringing, of course, my social conditioning. And the people in my upbringing and in my circle had a certain philosophy that my kind of look and my face or my body is ugly. But then I move into a different social circle, which is this circle of people who professionally work in the beauty industry, a fashion industry, who have a different concept of beauty. And so I think that is actually what ignites and triggers change in people. It's when you start seeking other people who think a different way. And I think that's actually one of the powers of the internet, because if you watch my videos about the personal finance or career, I might not be saying the same things as what the people around you are talking about related to money or your career, how to get a promotion. They're not saying the same things. They're not in your everyday life. And that is so difficult to change your life when you're stuck and surrounded by the same people who always think the same way. And it just makes it so difficult for you. And the problem is you vibe with them. You vibe with them. You have energy with them. You have history with them. The moment you start to change your philosophy and your belief system and your way of thinking, you guys no longer vibe. That connection you had with that person just fades. You slowly drift apart, and it's almost like what you once had in common with that person, you no longer have in common anymore. And that's why that saying, some friends are in your life for a season and some people are your friends for life, right? And those people were friends for just a season because you don't vibe anymore. But yeah, what am I? I'm in this stage now where I've awakened. I've realized it's a lie. I can consciously see the lie. But I've not fully embodied it, so there's still room for self-sabotage. So I actually wanted to make this video today talking about this topic because I want to share with you that I'm actually going to be on my own job search, and I'm going to document my job search. I'm going to start applying for modeling agencies because I want to work as a model and I want to get over the fear of having my picture taken. I think I posted maybe 10 pictures on Instagram at this point. Each one, I took them and they look pretty nice, but I'll be very honest, the fear was still there. I think each photo took me 30 minutes to take. I would take 30 minutes worth of photos. That's about maybe 100 pictures, and then I would choose the best one. And even then, I was questioning myself in front of camera, does this look right? Does this look good? And it's not the fully bam, I got this kind of confidence. I don't have that confidence. So if I believe that if I make taking pictures of myself a regular part of my life, if I do that consistently enough, then it becomes my new normal. And I would like that to be a new normal for me. I want this new world for me, new everything, new me, new identity. And so that's why I'm going to solidify it by taking massive action. So that's the only way to really make sure the changes are permanent. Otherwise I can fall back to my old way of thinking. So yeah, that's what I wanted to
share with you today, how does it relate to you? I mean, this is just one big story of like my life, right? I mean, I was just thinking, what kind of things have people told you that have been a lie? Because you know how fish, they swim in the water? Fish don't question themselves. Well, fish don't think, first of all. But you know how a fish swims in water? Do you think a fish ever like thinks to themselves like, how do I swim in this water? How am I breathing in this water? No, they kind of like just swim in the water. So when we're in our own conditioning, we kind of just swim in our thoughts. It's kind of like how I told my husband about like, oh, well, you don't think I'm pretty if I'm not wearing makeup, right? I was swimming in those thoughts on autopilot, and I didn't even catch myself and realize consciously that I'm swimming in that conditioning. But so imagine like what kind of conditioning you're having. I have a pretty successful career. Other people who don't have a successful career, like what kind of conditioning are they running on here, right? Like I meet people who are scared of networking, for instance. Like what kind of conditioning is that? Can you imagine, like let's say you never raised your hand in school. That's a common thing. Let's say you never raised your hand in school. What if the reason you never raised your hand in school was because you were afraid of like giving the wrong answer? All right. But other people on the outside, they don't know what your fear is. So they're just going to write you off like, oh, well, John is shy. John is shy. John has a shy personality. And then when your teacher talks to your parents at parent-teacher conference, oh, John is a shy boy, you know? What would happen if you believe that? When actually the reason you don't raise your hand is because you're just scared of giving the wrong answer, but you're not scared of being social. You're not scared of making friends. You're not scared of meeting new people, that you're not shy, right? But what if like the things that other people said about you, they said it so many times as you grew up, you suddenly believe, wow, I must be shy. I'm shy. What would happen? You would go through the rest of your adulthood never going out of your way to network with people. And networking is so important to your career. What, half of all jobs are found through networking and they're not through applying to job listings? Come on. I mean, that's just one example. What about the idea that you need a college degree to be able to get a certain job, right? My friend Keith has that social conditioning. He doesn't even see the social conditioning. Like I try to pull back that social conditioning for him by telling him outright, like, no, you don't need a bachelor's degree in hospitality management in order to become a hotel manager. He stopped calling me. You know why he stopped calling me and talking to me and texting me? Why? Because I was pointing out something that was opposed to his existing worldview, and because it met that resistance, and whatever I said was making him feel so emotionally and mentally uncomfortable, he chose to stay away, right? But yeah, he believed that he can never be a hotel manager unless he gets his BA in hospitality. And here I am, I'm like showing him proof of the opposite, like hard proof. I went on LinkedIn, I looked for people who had a job title hotel manager. I looked through all their profiles to see what education they had. We had a biology major, geology major. We had people who didn't have college degrees at all. A handful of them. I saw people who just only had a certificate from a program from Cornell University. So yeah, I showed him proof of the opposite and he didn't even believe me, despite me putting the facts in front of him. My gosh. So a lot of like career success isn't about like whether you have a good resume or not. I mean, how about this? Let me take that back. A good resume is important. A good LinkedIn is important. A good brand, personal brand that you build for yourself on social media is important. But the core, the essence, the foundation of having a great, successful career and an amazing job search where you get multiple job offers actually first came from the philosophy and the mindset and the belief system. Because if you don't have that covered already, you're not going to take the subsequent steps to fix everything else. If you don't already have that mindset, how are you going to take the steps necessary to get your resume done well, to do your LinkedIn? Oh, what is that? To get a headshot done for your LinkedIn, to work on your interview skills, and then to actually apply for the goddamn job, which is something most people apparently don't do. They don't even apply for the damn job because they've got that social conditioning telling them that they're not good enough. Anyway, I rambled on and on, I think. I think I've covered all the topics I wanted to talk about today. Yeah, so I will be documenting my journey in the next few videos about applying to modeling school and how that turns out. And I hope you follow me for the journey. If this resonated with you today, I do think you should read, the introductory chapter of the 5-Day Job Search. Is actually, I do talk about the social conditioning and the mindset. What's so funny is I logically understand social conditioning, but I couldn't see my own social conditioning. So, I mean, I write about the topic, but then I have this epiphany about my own appearance. Anyway, yeah, so it's talked about in the introductory chapter, and the audiobook is actually free on my website, so I'm gonna post a link there so you can download it and get more information. And then I also have this article on my website where I'm going to document the journey, so in case you don't want to follow the future videos, all of it will just be outlined in one neat article for you to read. That's it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.